All right, so we got a electric start FTS system on this Tc85. This is a 2001. This is Emmett's bike. We've been riding this thing all over the desert. Done some light enduro on it. Much garbage, right? Anyways, we got an STS system, FTS, I think is what it was. This comes out of England. Guy, I don't know if he manufactures them or what it is, but he's on Facebook if you're Googling it for electric start for these 85s. It's a really slick kit. So it has a motor that sits right down in there. And there's some gears in here. And basically there's kind of the starter gear that grabs that flywheel in there, that threads in it. And I have it wired up. The loom sits up in there. The wires come through. And I've got electric start here. My turn off there. And anyways, you want to hear it run. That was a little much. Anyways, the starter engages pretty well. We'll just start and stop here a couple times. All right, and you can hear that thing. Yeah, turn it off. In the kit, I grenaded the starter on when I first got this. Got super excited. This is the original starter. I actually had to replace it. So just an FYI to anyone ordering this kit, there's a little spacer in there on the starter gear that they give you for that. And this is the one they got. It's a shim. I installed it, but what I noticed right away is when you started it is that the starter didn't seem to want to disengage. And I took it around the block. I didn't make it more than 10 houses down, and it locked up. So what happened is the starter stayed engaged, and then when you start hitting the high RPMs, the starter just went woof and exploded on me, as you see here. So I went down and I took that shim and I got one half the size, which is this, and now it gives it the clearance. So now the starter can disengage off the motor, whereas before it wasn't doing that. So these starters are they're off of the some Honda 50 two-stroke little scooters, super cheap. I think I paid 30 bucks off of eBay for it. Got here in a couple days. So even though I grenaded it, no big deal, but a little bit of thought process of trying to figure out that you had to reduce the shims. I also had to do one other modification on the bike, is because when I went to put this guy on, and I guess, this is a 2001 frame, and if you put it on maybe the older frames, I think that they changed in 2020, or 21 is probably the first model that came with the new frames. The clearance here is really super tight. You can see how it's on the frame. I actually had to, I know you're gonna cringe, but bend the frame here. I had to tap a little groove for the starter because it was just, you're talking a millimeter of threads off to get it to line up. So there is, if you get one of these kits, you do have to, let's say, modify your frame, or you'd somehow have to push this motor up about a millimeter to get the clearance. So maybe that's something they can think about when they manufacture another one. But yeah, awesome. Now we obviously haven't been out on any trails to ride it, so I can't tell you what the livelihood is this, or what the endurance is, but just, off the first impressions, awesome. The issue we were having is when we would take this out on the trails is Emmett here, he's 11, he's really good, but when you're doing enduro stuff, you stall it out like all the time, right? And that's his biggest deal. So we'd be climbing some crazy hills, he'd stall it out. They just don't have the low end grunt, because obviously it's a track bike, so the low end grunts are kind of not there. And on a beginner, you're going to struggle, but he'd stall it out, and then you get, we live in Arizona, it gets so stinking hot, and it's just hard to sit there and start it. So then after about 10 falls of picking your bike up and trying to start it, yeah, he's like done for the day. So the idea here is getting an electric start, is there's no more kick in this thing. And if starting these things is not hard, but they don't always want to start. Some of the other cool modifications that he's got on here, we obviously put a kickstand on it. We put an Electron carb on it. We take it up north. That really helped a lot out on just the smoothness and also on the fuel economy. On the stock carb, we were just burning through fuel. And I've messed with the jets and it was just a booger. On my other Husqvarnas, I've stuck with the stock carbs, really like them, but I thought I'd give this a try. So Electron carb, definitely shout out to them. I really, really like that. We've had this on for probably about 6 months now. Love it. Got a desert tank on there. Some pegs, aftermarket pegs. Bark busters. All the good stuff. Curiosity, if you're curious about how I ran this, I have an anti-gravity 401 battery in here, lithium battery, and it's just kind of mounted up in there. Zip tied, a very large zip tie pulling it up. And then obviously you cannot charge these systems, so you have to manually charge it with a lithium charger. And so this runs through the side cover. This is kind of where the exposure is, and that's how you'd have to charge it. So you'd have to charge it probably every 100 starts or something. That lithium battery will last forever. So, all right, well, hope you enjoyed watching. I'll catch you guys maybe on another one later. How awkward, right?